Has anyone thought about a question? Why are all the remaining ancient megalithic remains in? And that includes Baalbek, which we'll talk about today. Temple of Jupiter. No strange evidence was found. Are they the remains of a prehistoric civilization? Or is it the product of alien high-tech? Baalbek, this monumental complex. They had huge boulders. Some of them weigh over 1,000 tons. From the perspective of transmission archaeology, there can be no explanation. Baalbek is located in northeastern Lebanon, about 60 miles from Beirut. It's a less accessible area. Baalbek, a sacred mountain nestled in the fertile Bekaa Valley. The summit is 3,000 feet above sea level, as early as the Roman government, and before building the huge Temple of Jupiter. Even in Phineas, before the Key built the Temple of Paris, the largest boulder known to the world. Baalbek already exists. Mainstream narratives of Baalbek's history. One of the originalities of the Romans, because the Temple of Jupiter, it was one of the largest temples in the Roman Empire. It is still a Roman architectural force and shadow. Symbol of sound. However, underneath the Roman temple building, there are a series of huge boulders. It's called the Three Boulders. They formed the temple complex. Part of the foundation. The length of these three stones is over 19 meters and 62 miles. The height of the foot is 4.2 meters and 14 feet. The thickness is 3.6 meters and 12 feet. It weighs about 900 tons. It's been moved ever since. One of the largest stones, rise and accumulate in human history. From this perspective, the weight of each stone, approximately used for construction, 36 times the weight of the stone in Boulder. It was used to build the Tower of Dakin in Giza. As much as 10 times the weight of a large stone, despite the sheer size of these stones, but they still somehow, from a quarry half a mile away. And on top of these smaller stones weighing up to 400 tons, raised to a height of 30 feet 9 meters, form the Heliopolis complex. Part of the foundation, and then on top of it was built the Temple of Jupiter. The cutting and alignment of these stones, it's incredibly accurate. They fit together almost seamlessly. The gap is very narrow. Can't even insert a single piece of paper. Focusing on classic Roman architecture, it can be seen that the grandeur and beauty of the structure are different. The three boulders were not designed to be seen. They are buried in the foundation and cannot be seen. It seems to have been arranged primarily for structural purposes. So this raises a question. Why would a civilization leave behind, spare no effort to move and place these huge stones? In the end, it was just to bury them. There are no historical documents of the Romans. Explain in detail how they achieved such an architecture. Feat. The Romans were famous for their meticulous record keeping. It records almost everything they do. Major construction projects. However, there is no Roman account to explain it. The process of moving these huge stones, or how they were incorporated into Jupiter. Mysterious foundation island. In addition, the architecture of Baalbek was markedly different, a megalithic boulder carved from the bottom, to the more primitive stonework of Roman architecture. Show, the site may have undergone multiple stages of development. The early stages are of a higher technical standard. In addition, according to historians, the largest Roman crane could only lift 60 tons of weight, so they're unlikely to move up to 900 tons or more stones. What's more, the Romans used to sit on rocks, drill a hole, and one side is able to lift them up with a crane. However, the three boulders don't seem to contain any holes. But if no known Roman engineering techniques to explain how these stones, moving or positioning with such precision, the original foundations of Baalbek. Who built them? Three boulders shows bands not seen in Roman architecture. Traces of erosion. This suggests that they may have been numbered thousands of years earlier than the Romans. Graham, Hancock, and other researchers believe that the mountain boulders are about 12,000 years old. Previous to Roman architecture, about 10,000. This is not a random guess, because as early as 9000 BC, the site shows archaeological signs of continued habitation. This means that no matter who the real builder is, we and our established historical record don't know them at all. But the three boulders are just the beginning. On this side of the Temple of Jupiter, there's another monolithic monolith. The boulder weighs about 800 tons, as long as the size of the block. Compare with nearby tourists. You can see it intuitively. Next to him is the male boulder wall, and there's a lot of these surface platforms out there. Look at the perfect fit between them. Some accessories are even at a certain angle. The megalithic walls are even more impressive and mysterious. This is obviously better than the Romans, Greeks, and the Phoenicians, a masterpiece of much more advanced civilization. Even a child can see that. High-quality megalithic buildings on the foundation and at the top of the street. The obvious difference between inferior Roman architecture. If we look closely at the surface of the boulder, we can see these strange parallel scratches. They can be in different parts of the building complex, seen on various sawn stones. We can also see them on the saw stone. The length of these scratches is approximately 3 meters, or quartz ruler, and completely parallel. This means they couldn't have used the original tool made. And what do these traces look like? More like traces of some kind of machinery. If you have seen me before about video of megalithic buildings, you may notice these markers and other prehistoric left on the megalithic ruins. Tag similarity. Take the Yangshan vegetable market in China. It is made up of this estimated 16,000 ton. Made up of huge boulders. As you can see, tool traces in Yangshan Quarry, China, and the tool marks on the Baalbek boulder. Exactly the same. Also in Petra, Jordan, we found the Yangshan rock. Very similar tool marks. These traces, it can be seen in the prehistoric part of Petra. These traces are from the 40th season BC, before the Nabatean kingdom settled the city. Formed over thousands of years. Shocking. It's much stronger than the machines we have now. Contemporary mining equipment. The resulting stripes bear a striking resemblance. This shows the sophistication of ancient instrumental methods, compatible with modern technology. Does this mean build all these huge prehistoric civilizations at megalithic ruins, possessing something similar to our modern machinery and advanced technology for heavy equipment? Russia has an independent alternative scientific research center, the Alternative History Lab, to Baalbek. The megaliths were studied in detail and found in various parts of the structure many tiny traces of machinery. You can see from this Baalbek's men's megalithic strength with extraordinary accuracy, and photographed the perfect fit of these stones. We can see markers near the edge, even more than those markers we've discussed. No more inspections. They look so precise and miniature. So much so that with crude tools, almost impossible to make. What's even more surprising is the edge itself. If we zoom in closer to the edge, we can see that there is a microscopic line going along between the surface of the encounter and the oblique angle boundary extension. This line is less than 1/3 of a millimeter thick. Currently, it's not clear what kind of tool is used for this line, or made by machine. But with primitive tools, it is impossible to create lines of such precision and fineness. At the edge of the block has a chamfer consisting of multiple, and the chamfers on the two blocks have the same shape. The production accuracy of the side is close to that of jewelry. Some areas are even treated with high throws. The quality of the work and precision is evident in this notch. Precision of a few tenths of a millimeter. Look at this 800-ton rock. Massive stone wall. Judging by the darkening of the surfaces of these blocks, obviously they are much older than Roman buildings. We can see again, the fittings between the blocks have exceptional precision. In fact, in some places, the coordination on the street is very close. You can barely see where the street is. No one knows how deep this wall is underground, because the ground level was much lower thousands of years ago. So one wonders, how were builders able to reconstruct these 800 tons of giant stones, such perfect transportation, lift, and precisely stacked at such a high height? The entire Baalbek complex, there are at least 40 of these stones. The total weight is about 800 to 1,000 tons. There may be many other buildings, but so far, archaeological excavation, not yet in the complex, excavation under all sections. Next to the Temple of Jupiter is the Temple of Bacchus. We can see again, there are huge stones on the foundation. The stones weighing 800 tons are perfectly put together. Whether it is a vertical or a horizontal gap, can't even insert a blade. If you are not directly in front of the building, you might not even see the gaps. But the huge rock is not Baalbek, the only prehistoric site. If you visit the Baalbek temple, the first things that might catch your attention are those huge stone pillar, especially those stone pillars adorned with the Temple of Jupiter. They are classical history, the largest stone pillar ever built. However, these pillars are not prehistoric. It was the work of the Romans. These giant columns are 65 feet and 20 meters high, built with limestone mined from nearby. But they were not built as a single unit. They're built in sections called rollers. Each roller is carefully carved and installed together, forming a seamless pillar. Although the exact weight of each roller, it may vary depending on the specific size. But it is estimated that the weight of a single drum is approximately 60 tons. This is roughly what the Romans used with a crane, the maximum weight that can be lifted. The Romans used it to lift rollers, and one of the key technologies attached to the column. It's called amplane. Later I remember, drill a hole in the center of each roller section. These holes are not only used for their rollers, it also provides key connection points for lifting equipment. The Romans used to use glass jigs. This is a special metal clip design for inserting holes or grooves in stones. As far as the roller is concerned, ampalons served as these convenient insertion points for lifting furniture. These lifting clamps are attached to the crane. Workers can carefully lift stones into the air. The entire process of column construction represents some of the most bewildering aspects of Roman engineering. Feat of thoughts. But Roman columns are not Baalbek's only cylinder. When the scientists discovered most of the columns are much older, they were shocked, and most of the columns were mostly destroyed. The reason why this pillar shocked archaeologists is, unlike Roman columns, they are not made of limestone found nearby. It's made of rose granite. It's a tougher material, and they're not made of different rollers connected to each other. It's a single structure. These 200 rose granite columns, from over 700 miles away, mining in Aswan, Egypt, Great Pyramid of Giza, the famous rose granite block used in the king's tomb. Also from the quarry. Each of these stones will weigh up to 80 tons. Shipping from Aswan to pizzas over 500 miles away is a daunting task. But will similar multi-ton granite columns shipping to Baalbek is a bigger challenge. These granite pillars, not only down the Nile, through relatively flat land, they also stretch along the Nile. They have to cross an average altitude of about 2,500 meters, or 8,000 to 100 feet of fenced mountain range. In such a mountainous area, transport, the difficulty of these massive stone pillars is amazing. And this raises an important question. Why did the builders, and why spare no effort to put these pillars? Take it to Baalbek. Traffic on this challenging terrain. The so-called technology or method. Far more than we usually think. The techniques or methods of ancient civilizations. But that's not even the most impressive part. We know granite is one of the hardest materials on Earth. The only way to shape granite is to use tools with diamond tips. However, magnetic tools were not used until the end of the 19th century. In addition, the pillars are polished. It is incredibly smooth and finished. Beautiful circular surface, the transition between the curved surface and the platform surface, very precise. Use hand tools. It is impossible to achieve this level of accuracy. Even the most skilled sculptor. You may also make some small mistakes, cause unevenness. But after thousands of years, there is no obvious flaw. What about the remaining edges? Still sharp. Provides convincing evidence. Indicates that ancient mechanical techniques may have been used for processing. As we mentioned, most of them. Rose granite column. Many other stones broken to pieces together. In fact, most of the complex, the area is filled with scattered debris. It's as if something happened at the scene. Ferocious catastrophic event. What kind of power is it to shatter such a huge granite? If we check stone ruins scattered around the site, we will find many of them have strange patterns and traces that look like modern machines. Is this really made with primitive tools? Baalbek. How big are the boulders in the megalithic ruins? He is 10 times the largest stone used in the pyramid, 36 times the boulders used in Stonehenge. Author and researcher Brian Foster Zhang. Dozens of visits to the site. Examine its prehistoric ruins, and wrote a whole book. Special introduction to the advanced boulders on the site. The title of the work is Labane, Boulders of the Gods of Baalbek. In it, he talked about the pink granite stone. Dozens of strange marks and cuts. And here's the shocking part. He pointed out that there were large traces of iron oxidation on the stone. This means they are likely to be using some kind of machine cut. Our story about Baalbek. Description of prehistoric megalithic buildings. If you don't talk about that, the most astounding and subversive discoveries. Baalbek quarry is endless. The whole limestone quarry. It is about a mile from the main temple complex, where most of Baalbek's giant rocks are mined. This includes the 3 giant boulders. However, the market still contains unfinished boulders. They're bigger than 3 boulders. So it's even more mysterious. The first Baalbek vegetable market. One of the most famous discoveries was the maternity stone. Yeah, the boulders are named after local legends. It's about 68 feet long, 14 feet tall, 14 feet faster. It weighs over 1,000 to 100 tons. The boulder is placed at a raised angle. The lowest part of its bottom is still attached on the rocks in the quarry. It was as if he was almost ready to be cut and shipped to. Same as the assumed location. His enormous size raised questions about how the ancients transported and used his doubts. Directly below the stone, we see again strange streak marks appeared on other boulders. Many people believe that these marks are the marks left by the machine. Jungfrau Park in Interlaken, Switzerland. Here's an interesting model. Shows what is required to lift a pregnant woman. The number of modern cranes, even if we assume that this prehistoric civilization with the same crane technology we have today. Although there is not enough space to place all the required cranes. And even if they lift the stone, how would they transport it to the temple? Initially, a large part of the boulder is buried underground. But after a long excavation process, 2014, there's Jenny Abdul of Lebanon University. Horst West led a delegation of the German Research Institute. The team made a shocking discovery. It is revealed that next to the knowledge of pregnant women, there's an even bigger boulder. It weighs 1,650 tons. This boulder is known as the Forgotten Stone. As of today, it's one of the largest mines the world has ever seen. The largest rock is in this aerial photo. You can put the Forgotten Stone comparison with pregnant women's knowledge. The size difference is quite large, considering that this rock was only discovered 10 years ago. Who knows how deep the vegetable market is? What will be discovered in the future? Who knows what other huge prehistoric? The boulder is buried in the ground. These stones are suitable for engineers and modern scientists, including archaeologists. It remains an enduring mystery because it is used for quarrying, transportation, and precise positioning. The technology surpasses any known stock. The ability of ancient or contemporary builders. The road to Baalbek is uphill. Rough terrain. Did not indicate correctly. In ancient times, flat shipping roads were built. In addition, once the huge boulder arrives on the scene, how to lift and place with such precision? They have a challenge. In fact, let's assume that the ancients' size pulley system can be used. The arrangement and positioning of the stones also cannot provide possible locations for installing such equipment. The Earth makes the whole float factory. This fact of inflation proves that the location could be tens of thousands of years old, out of the pre-Red Fan era. Could explain the sudden abandonment of the float factory. A catastrophic event, whether it is an earthquake, floods, or other natural disasters, could force builders to stop work unexpectedly, leaving these huge stones unfinished. He stayed put. Baalbek Vegetable Market is not only the location of huge boulders, that's where the boulders are. It also contains caves, smaller quarries, and a series of the mysterious structure known as the Witness. This adds to the mystery of the location. These histories are unlike horizontally cut stones. They're standing vertically, almost like sentries guarding the vegetable market. Witness. The word means that they serve as markers or an indicator. Maybe indicates the importance of the quarry or the completion of a specific quarrying stage. The purpose of these boulders remains controversial. Some people think that they might be part of an ancient megalithic marking system, similar to other histories around the world. For example, in Stonehenge, France, or the ones found in the Temple of Karnak. Some researchers have proposed that witness boulders may have ceremonial significance or marking important celestial permutations, because ancient builders often used astronomical features included in their monuments. This place is known. It's a smaller dish nearby. The market is just across the street, hardly excavated. Where is it? We found another huge boulder, known as the Stone of the South. The size of the southern stone exceeds that of a pregnant woman. Estimated weight is 1,300 tons. Its upper part, it is likely that it was still visible in Roman times. Therefore, we are on its surface, saw a lot of small extracts, due to the fact that the Romans were unable to move, and using this huge boulder, they just cut it into pieces to build. Many people believe that this vegetable market is bigger than ours before. The vegetable market discussed is even bigger. However, as of today, he has not been excavated. Garbage and construction waste piled up on it. Who knows below him? What other huge stones are buried? Anyway, Baalbek's prehistory. The megalithic works are still the most fascinating. One of the evidences of awe. Proof of advanced prehistoric civilization owns far better than any known technology of ancient civilizations. There are many theories about the site. Myths and legends. Ancient legend says Baalbek is the oldest building in the world. Cain, son of Adam, 33 years after Genesis, due to sin, and Nafri, who was punished by the Great Flood, built with the help of giants. Baalbek stone and quarry continue to fascinate people around the world, whether speculated from mythology, from a historical or academic perspective. The legend of Baalbek all reflect humanity's ancient past, and prehistoric civilizations seem difficult. The persistent curiosity that explains the achievements